It's pretty hard to make a truly bad watch these days. An uninteresting one, sure, and even a substandard one, but to actually make something pretty crap takes some doing. I found some, nevertheless, and I wanted to show them to you here for your amusement, and to keep you safe on your travels. I'd say the last one is especially bad, but really they're all especially bad. Okay, the last one really is extra bad. Let me set the scene. In 1790, Harvey Kennedy invented the shoelace, the first strung binding used in footwear with an aglet, or decorative cover, sealing the ends. Go back another 48 years to 1742, and you'll find the world's first water-driven cotton mill, beginning operation in Northampton, England, spinning cotton under the power of the River Nen. If you can imagine a time that long ago, I want you to imagine 4 years earlier still, when Pierre Jaquet Droz founded his clockmaking business. Today, that same clockmaker has produced this, the Tourbillon Skelet Red Gold Bonjovi. The history and capabilities of Jaquet Droz are quite phenomenal, producing elaborate automata for the world's royalty. They've also made a watch for John Francis Bonjovi Jr., better known as Bonjovi. To celebrate decades of success and his associated tour, Bonjovi has commissioned the world's first watch inspired by Captain Pugwash. The central theme of the watch is an ornate set of beautifully crafted wings emanating from a heart, with each element finished to the highest possible degree. Upon the heart is set the age at which men start considering a Harley-Davidson and wearing jackets featuring similar motifs. It is, coincidentally enough, the number of years the anniversary tour is celebrating, 4 decades since a radio contest propelled Bonjovi to stardom. At the top of the watch is a hand-engraved plaque featuring the band name and font meticulously replicated. Previous designs featured the words Mother, Carpe Diem, spelt incorrectly, and Live Laugh Love. Former girlfriend names were rejected immediately because they wouldn't want it to look silly now, would they? Pulling the whole thing together is the 8-day Flying Tourbillon Caliber 2625 SQ, which offsets the time display to the lower half so the tourbillon can do its thing up top. So this is a watch with 2 hearts, but only one is cool enough to have a sweet dagger sticking right through it. Snake Jailbird would dig it the most. If you too are rocking the hairstyle of an elderly lady, then you may also be considering the Jaquet Droz Tourbillon Skelet Red Gold Bonjovi, and to that I say, the price starts at 218,000 Swiss francs, so maybe reconsider. It is your life, it is now or never, but you will have to live forever knowing you paid cash money for a 200 grand Hells Angels watch. The unstoppable march of progress trudges onwards as much now as it ever did, and Tag Heuer continues to be in the middle of it. When the brand, nay Heuer, was gasping its last dying breath in the wake of newfangled battery-powered watches, a mere decade after celebrating the launch of its first automatic chronograph, it fell to holding company Techniques d'Avant-Garde to step in and do something. That's the tag in Tag Heuer, and in 1986, 3 fateful things happened. First, I was born. So that's nice. Second, Tag purchased Heuer and incorporated its own name in with Heuer's like it owned the place, which it did. Third, Tag wasted no time in spitting out a cheap plastic quartz watch to go toe-to-toe with the Swatch watch in a bid to save the business, which it did. There isn't a bucket big enough to suggest Tag Heuer sold this new watch, the Formula 1, by the bucket load. Numbers in the first few years were in the millions, with more to come. It was cheap, it was bright, and it was incredibly popular, designed by Eddie Bergener to challenge conceptions on how badly colours could clash. If television ushered in a demand for colour, the Formula 1 had people clamouring for it to be taken away again. Or at least it would have done, were this not the decade when apparently everyone went colourblind. The Formula 1 did what it needed to do in tiding Tag Heuer over until quality luxury watches became popular again, with the collection moving up market to the 6 features Formula 1 Curium, with all 6 features dedicated to looking like the Windows 2000 media player. And that was the end of the plastic Formula 1. Until now. Remember how I said the Formula 1 was cheap, went toe-to-toe with Swatch, and sold by the larger-than-a-bucket container load? Well, it's back and it's doing none of those things. This one's $1,500, which makes it 5 times the price of the Moon Swatch, and it's limited to 5,700 pieces. Oh, and did I mention it's a collaboration with Mike Tyson's favourite streetwear brand, Kith? Sorry, not streetwear, technical gear, loungewear and custom footwear. This new Formula 1 is not a fun throwback to an 80s eyesore, it's a limited collab for people with $400 to spend on a sweater. Why? I don't know. Perhaps it's an effort to move Tag Heuer upmarket with the mainstream fashion crowd, but even they know that $1,500 for a plastic watch is a bigger joke than Kanye West's election campaign, surely. Or maybe they're trying to create some kind of physical NFT where the value is entirely in the speculation and the object itself is just a totem of that. Maybe, except that 5,700 pieces makes Alcoholics Anonymous seem exclusive. Here was Tag Heuer's chance for an altruistic moonswatch moment, where we all joined hands in harmony around the world, and they traded it all in for a Kith on the cheek. Will they ever give Max Verstappen a decent watch? I want you all to take a good, long, hard look at the next watch, not just because it's the only picture I have, but because there's an important lesson we're going to learn here today. Before I tell you what that lesson is, here's the watch, an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Tourbillon built especially for Tom Brady, the greatest American soccer player to have ever lived. Tom Brady, I didn't say stop looking at the watch, has amassed an incredible 7 Super Bowls to his name, and the more I think about it, the more I think Super Bowl is the ideal unit of measurement to supersede the bucket. Not only does Brady's jewellery collection contain 7 very fetching rings, but also more timekeepers than the Winter Olympics. Richard Mille's, Patek Philippe's, Rolex's, you name it. He's got it. It's probably easier to list what he hasn't got instead of what he has, and what he has now includes this unique Royal Oak Tourbillon custom made for him by Audemars Piguet. The first thing you might notice about it is that it has all the style and elegance of leftover pizza. The combination of the salmon dial and diamond set bezel is unsettling for sure, but what's really going to test your gag reflex are the diamond markers spelling out Tom Brady's name, separated by the number 7. As the police said of Dale Sean Ackman, there's a lot to unpack here. First, how does one decide to include, in the design of their own watch, which will probably live on to become a museum piece, their own name? Is Tom really that hard of a name to remember? He's one of the most recognisable people on the planet. I'm sure he could always ask someone to remind him. Second, the number 7 is at 11 o'clock. Does that mean ignoring that number 7 when telling the time? Or is midday now where the Y is? That's some serious recalibration and perhaps explains why Tom needs a reminder of his own name. I'd certainly forget mine every time I tried reading this watch. Is this the world's first watch designed with alphabeti spaghetti? Is it a ruse to make us look back at the Marvel editions more fondly? Is it all just a terrible nightmare that I'll wake up from any moment now? We'll see. The lesson is, before making a custom AP, to speak to John Mayer first. You know when everything in the universe just falls together at exactly the right time and place with such harmony that it feels almost preordained? Like when A Bug's Life and Ants came out within 6 weeks of each other. Well, that's how the Tissot PRX feels, a watch that brought a level of quality and value at exactly the moment the doors of Audemars Piguet slammed shut in the average Joe's face. Well, for every yin there is a yang, and to Tissot's Neo there is its agent Smith, the PRX Digital. Imagine if Seth Brundle were actually a Tissot PRX and the bothersome fly was an F91W, and the results are even more horrifying. I can only wish the PRX Digital was barfing acid and growing spiny hairs out its casebag. Instead, we've got this. Ever heard the expression, you can't fit a square peg in a round hole? Instead of learned wisdom, Tissot took that as a challenge, and with all the grace of a shell-shocked mason, hammered a 4-sided digital screen right into that round dial. How did they achieve such a physics-bending accomplishment? By making sure the square peg was as minuscule as possible. There are islands in the South Atlantic less remote than this display, which floats inside the bezel in a vast pool of black, like a seagull in an oil spill. It's an NFT on the Mona Lisa's face, a can of Coke in the Statue of Liberty's hand, and I just don't like it. And as if to rub broken glass and itching powder into the wound, the void is broken up with a nod to the date the brand was established and the place in which it is made, as though the founding fathers would have also been making a crap digital watch back in 1853 Switzerland, if only some time-travelling visionary had brought them the technology. If this is a prank Tissot, it's not funny. When my dog is unwell and needs to take a pill, I wrap that foul-tasting tablet up inside a piece of ham in a bid to make him eat it. Only he has developed the ability to unwrap that ham for immediate consumption, whilst also launching the pill into oblivion, never to be seen or tasted again. So if my dog is clever enough to tell when something nasty is enveloped by a shroud of deceit, why does Patek Philippe not think we are? I'm talking about the Aquanaut 5269R, a watch that, on the surface at least, looks every bit like a delicious slice of ham. The rose gold 38.8mm case is a Wiltshire cured. The matching blue-grey dial and rubber strap is a tangy prosciutto. The second time zone indication with a day-night indicator is a hand-carved Jamon Iberico. And what's wrapped up neatly inside, ready to bitterly disappoint, the caliber E23250S FUS 24H, a quartz. Why Patek Philippe? Why? This could have been the luxury sports watch to end all luxury sports watches, the perfect beach holiday bromance, and you went and put a battery in it. I haven't been this disappointed since the finale of Crash Landing on You. The perfect couple, unnecessarily denied their happily ever after. I'm talking about me and the watch. Thing is, I do like quartz. Well, I don't like it, but in certain cases it's very much allowable. Spring drive is the obvious example, almost entirely because the second hand doesn't tick like it's too shy to join the conversation. And in a cheap watch that's really well made, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. But here, every time I'd look at it, I'd feel shame I couldn't get the mechanical one. I'd dread the moment someone said to me, "Hey, is that a Patek? Why is it ticking? Is it fake?" That's what it feels like. Like Patek Philippe faked its own watch. And you just know as well that when the inevitable happens and the battery dies, you'll go back to the Patek Philippe boutique, and because you're the only sucker to buy one, the sales guy won't have even heard of the watch, and when you ask for the battery to be changed, he'll sneer and say, "Have you tried winding it?" And the worst thing is, it'll be him in the wrong, and you'll have to stand there in amongst a clientele of Nautilus and Grand Comp owners and launch that bitter pill back out as the painful sentence, "No, it's a quartz." If you could concoct a plan to make the perfect wristwatch, perhaps it would go something like this. Take the form of one of the rarest and most expensive watches in the world, a Patek Philippe 2458 custom made with a competition-used observatory chronometer movement that's basically like cramming an F1 engine in a Rolls Royce. Get hot stuff watchmaking award winner Raúl Pagès to oversee the production of the movement, and then why not? Have watch auction hype man Audemars Bacs, the guy who sold the Paul Newman, make sure it's never worth a penny less than you paid for it. And that's exactly what you get with the Phillips in association with Bacs and Russo 1952 Observatory Dial limited edition by Massena Lab and Raúl Pagès. It's 38.5mm across and just 10mm thick, so it wears better than a spray tan. The caliber M690, based on the M660 found in a previous collaboration between Pagès and Massena, uses off-the-shelf components to keep the price down, but arranged in a unique architecture with hand finishing to give it character and quality. And the best thing about it is the price. A dream watch configuration for less than a Rolex Submariner. At 8,800 Swiss francs, the price is scarcely believable, especially when considering that a watch associated with Pagès typically costs 10 times that. So you should probably be wondering, why on earth is it featured in this video? Well, you see, a mighty oak can be brought to its knees by the tiniest termite, and burrowing its way around the dial is none other than the name of Watch Thor himself, the man with the hammer, Raúl Bacs. In an attempt to give a nod to the original award-winning observatory chronometer, which featured text in the arrangement of a 3 o'clock subdial, this Massena Lab does the same. Although, unlike the Patek, it doesn't really have anything to say, so it simply becomes a list of names loosely associated with the watch. You know how movie posters have executive producers who kind of didn't really do anything but paid enough to get their name up there? That's how this feels. If one of those executive producers had recently been busted shifting moody gear, that is. The only name that's missing? Why, the directors, of course. You won't find Raúl Pagès' name on it anywhere. The beauty of a new watch is the unimpeachable perfection crafted by the hands of skilled artisans, and knowing that from this moment onwards, as the last sticker is peeled away, it will never be as perfect ever again. Your story will add wear and indeed character to the watch, evolving as you do, aging with time. The first scratch is always the hardest. It feels like you've personally shit in the sandwich of your favourite watchmaker, disrespecting their hard work with your brazen carelessness. Ubot have sought to skip customers straight past that bit, warping them directly to the last level, a place that all watches, and indeed all things, will find themselves returning to: the ocean. This is a bronze watch, and many may find fascination in the advanced patination of bronze as it forms the protective oxidized coating that makes it ideal for nautical use. It seems counterintuitive, but it's the rust that stops it rusting. Some bronze watch owners have taken it upon themselves to fast forward the process using all kinds of Blue Peter-style household concoctions, yielding a result that not only looks inspired by Captain Pugwash, but like it went down with his ship too. That's nothing on the Ubot Darkmoon Unico, which has been bathed in a medley of acids to age the case, crown, buckle and even the dial into a condition not even a real estate agent could find a positive spin on. The problem is, they haven't really thought this one through. Not only is the case back treated with an acid peel even Mickey Rourke wouldn't try, which is guaranteed to leave a wrist skid to rival the Blue Moon swatch, but despite the oil-filled case, which should be indicative of an increased resistance to water pressure, the oxidized dial suggests that this thing's got more leaks than the Kremlin. Well, given that at 50 meters it's barely water resistant enough to take a shower in, I suppose that's actually pretty accurate. Since the boom in 70s-inspired integrated cases, every watchmaker looking to turn a profit has added one to their collection. It doesn't matter if you're Casio or Langenzoner. What the customer wants, the customer gets. And so it makes perfect sense that the watch brand created by the integrated craze instigator, a certain Mr. Gerald Genter, should have one too. This is Gerald Charles, and it's Genter's last hurrah in watch design before he went to the great watches and wonders in the sky, revived for a new generation of watch buyers looking to get their Genter fix. We've seen this Daniel Day-Lewis inspired bezel chin before, but this is the first time it's been shrouded in an integrated case and bracelet. There's a lot of competition, from Tisso's actual PRX to Mann's Manhattan. Less than $1,000 will get you well set up with some integrated action. So what does Gerald Charles have to offer here? The hands are simple, stamped flat and polished, along with the markers. The dial too gets a stamped motif, this time straight lines with a gentle sunburst. The case splits finishes between brushed and polished, and so too does the bracelet, which bulges on the bottom half to cater for that protruding chin. It's all fine. Stepping up the game is the inclusion of Vaucher's micro rotor movement as found in the $7,000 Hermes Slim de Hermes. So okay, whilst we expect the Gerald Charles to cost more than the Tiso, we also expect it to cost less than a mechanical flagship from a leading name like Hermes. The cost, you ask, of the Gerald Charles Masterlink? That's right, $23,000. For $6,000 more you could have an actual Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. I don't know where Gerald Charles got that price from, a random number generator perhaps, or maybe the decimal point rubbed off. I sincerely can't believe it was a conscious decision to actively make this watch almost as much as a Royal Oak. It's enough money to buy the far superior Chopard Alpine Eagle, and a Tudor Black Bay 58 GMT, and take a nice week away on holiday with them too. I know which I'd rather do. I actually have a little bit of a soft spot for Sevenfriday because they were one of the first, if not the first, watch brands to make contemporary watchmaking accessible at under £1,000, back at a time when anything else like it cost tens if not hundreds of thousands. Unfortunately, that soft spot doesn't spread so far as the Sevenfriday Free-D. Never has there been a better time to exercise the old adage, just because you can does not mean you should. Here, Sevenfriday has been experimenting with the darling of rapid prototyping, 3D printing, to create a watch that unfortunately looks like it was already killed with fire. The great freedom of 3D printing is the almost boundless opportunities it opens up, and really the hardest skill to master becomes self-restraint. No such concerns with the 3D, which has thrown all that out the window, off on a Willy Wonka escapade to make a watch that would give even HR Giga nightmares. The underlying principle is much like the original Sevenfriday concept, a squared-off rounded pebble case with rotating disc indicators, but this time instead of being designed, it's been left to be infected by cordyceps. Beyond even the tumescent polyps bolted to the case front, it's the strap especially that makes my skin crawl. It gives the impression of a carcass rotted in the desert, leaving nothing behind but some sinewy skin pulled taut between spine and ribcage. All wonderful imagery to think about in a luxury purchase. And when I say luxury purchase, I don't mean $500, I mean $5,000, because that's how much the Free-D will set you back. It used to be that getting assimilated by the Borg was free, but apparently now there's a handling charge. I blame Ticketmaster. I also have a soft spot for Jacob & Co, because although their creations don't exactly have me reaching for my kidneys, I do very much appreciate the mechanical hallucinogenics required to get there. There's little else as imaginative as a Jacob & Co, even if that imagination is one of an 8-year-old boy. Not every trip is a good one, however, and whilst the Astronomia boasts a vision of the universe even the Wachowskis couldn't ruin, it turns out it's not impossible. This is the Ring of Fire, and already it's setting itself up to be compared to yesterday's curry. The Ring of Fire utilises the Astronomia's foundations to immortalise a punching game between two men, Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. I'll be honest, I thought Tyson Fury was a Marvel character, but it turns out he's actually a tiny painted figurine inside a Jacob & Co watch, peeking out through the side window like he's lost his friend. I think I got one of these figurines in a Kinder Egg once. Americans might have to look the Kinder Egg up since you're not allowed them in case you swallow them. True story. Whilst the complex rotating escapement remains, the celestial bodies have been replaced with spinning boxing gloves in red and blue, signed by each respective punching man. At least, I think this is about punching. I saw a headline that said, Tyson Fury finally admits true feelings about Alexander Usyk, and now I don't know what's going on, especially when Jacob & co-founder Jacob Arabo said, we're very excited to see Fury and Usyk get into it. Regardless of how that relationship blossoms, the Ring of Fire remains about as good looking as a cauliflower ear. The piece de regurgitation is surprisingly not the two boxing gloves or indeed the figurines of the men who wear them, but the WBC Championship belt incorporated into the dial. Every possible shade of bruising is included in the emblematic dial, and can potentially be used as a colour chart to indicate how likely someone is to need medical intervention. Only 126 will be made, with 2 heading for the collections of the fighters themselves. The remainder are available for just $300,000 apiece, so interested parties will need to act quick. To quote the World Boxing Council, the sport of boxing is a platform to discover our best selves. I think my best self needs some eye bleach. Look, as long as you've done your research and you know what you're getting into, there's honestly no wrong answer when it comes to choosing a watch. So if Bonjovi is your hero, or you like your luxury watches like you like your Happy Meal toys, then absolutely be my guest. In fact, what's your guilty pleasure watch? Tell me down in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching, and an especially big thanks goes to my Patreons. You can join them in the link in the description below if you want to support me too. And remember, if you find yourself going toe-to-toe with someone like Tyson Fury, try to beat him with speed by running away as fast as you can. See you, hopefully, next time.